Look, he had it all. A sprawling mansion, a private jet, luxury cars lined up like soldiers, and more money than most people could even imagine. His name was Richard Donovan, a billionaire whose empire seemed untouchable. But one morning, he woke up to silence. Calls went unanswered, banks froze his accounts, and deals he thought were ironclad crumbled overnight. In a single moment, Richard lost everything. And as he stood in the middle of his empty mansion, staring at walls that once echoed with laughter and celebration, he realized something terrifying: wealth couldn't save him now. The world he had built with his own hands had vanished, leaving him broken, lonely, and desperate. But life has a way of surprising us, often in the smallest gestures from the most unexpected people. Little did Richard know that a chance encounter with a single dad working as a janitor would change not just his fortunes, but his heart, forever. Before we dive deeper into this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Your support helps our channel, your channel name, share more stories that inspire and remind us all of the incredible power of kindness. Richard Donovan's downfall was sudden, but the warning signs had been there for years. He was ruthless in business, cutting corners, crushing competitors, and ignoring the people who actually mattered in his life. Friends were few, and family had drifted away under the shadow of his ambition. But until it happened, Richard had always believed he was untouchable. When the collapse came, the world he knew disappeared overnight. His companies went bankrupt, lawsuits piled up, and creditors demanded payment he couldn't provide. He was forced out of his mansion and into a small, rented apartment in a rundown part of town. Gone were the fancy dinners, the weekend getaways, the feeling that money could solve anything. Richard was alone, terrified, and ashamed. One rainy evening, Richard wandered into a local supermarket, still dressed in his expensive suit, though now threadbare and stained. He didn't even notice the drizzle soaking his clothes. He was numb, moving like a ghost through the aisles. That's when he first saw him. Jason Thompson was a single dad, a janitor at the supermarket by night, working long shifts to make ends meet for his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Jason had a warm smile that never seemed forced, even after a 12-hour shift or when Lily needed new shoes he couldn't quite afford. He greeted every customer with genuine care, and when he saw Richard looking lost in the cereal aisle, he didn't judge. He simply walked over and asked, "Need some help?" Richard, used to people fawning over him because of his money, froze. He wasn't used to kindness that came without expectation. Jason didn't ask him his name, his job, or his past. He simply offered assistance and a small smile that made Richard feel, strangely, like he wasn't invisible. Over the next few weeks, Richard kept finding himself in that supermarket, not for food, but for the small, human connection he couldn't seem to find anywhere else. Jason never treated him differently, even when Richard's pride made him try to hide his desperation. Slowly, Richard began to talk. About his mistakes, about losing everything, about the emptiness he felt. And Jason listened. One evening, as they cleaned up spilled groceries together, Jason shared his own struggles. Raising Lily alone after her mother passed away had been nothing short of a challenge. Money was tight, nights were long, but he never gave up. He told Richard, "I don't have much, but I do what I can with what I have. Kindness goes further than money ever will." Those words hit Richard harder than any business failure ever could. He realized he had spent his entire life chasing wealth, believing it could protect him, and yet here was Jason, struggling, tired, but rich in a way Richard had never known. Rich in heart, in compassion, in the kind of generosity that didn't come with conditions. Inspired by Jason's example, Richard decided to start small. He helped Jason with groceries when he was running low, bought a few necessities for Lily without making it a big deal, and slowly, these acts of giving began to mend his broken spirit. He discovered joy in the simplest things, making someone smile, listening without interruption, giving without expecting anything back. It wasn't long before Richard started volunteering at local shelters and food banks, helping people who reminded him of the life he had once taken for granted. With Jason by his side, he learned to be humble, to listen, and to serve. The billionaire who had once measured success in dollars now measured it in moments of connection, in the warmth of a human touch, in the smiles he could ignite. Richard's transformation didn't go unnoticed. Friends and former colleagues were shocked to see him changing, to see him happy without his wealth. But the real change was inside him. For the first time, he understood that life's true wealth was not in what you owned, but in what you give, in the lives you touch, and in the kindness you spread. One day, while they were working together at a local community center, Richard realized that he didn't want to go back to the old way of life. He had learned that even a single act of kindness could ripple outward in ways he could never imagine. He decided to invest in programs that helped struggling families, supported single parents like Jason, and created opportunities for children like Lily to dream big, no matter their circumstances. Jason, of course, didn't ask for anything in return. He continued his work, smiled at Richard's efforts, and reminded him every day that compassion was stronger than any bank account. But through their friendship, Richard learned something priceless: when you give without expecting, when you help without judgment, the world opens doors you never thought possible. Years later, Richard Donovan's life looked very different, not in terms of wealth, but in terms of fulfillment. He had built a new kind of legacy, one that couldn't be measured in numbers or headlines. He had a network of friends who valued him for his heart, not his money. He had the satisfaction of knowing that the smallest acts of kindness could create monumental change. And he had Jason and Lily, reminders that the richest life is one lived for others. One evening, as they sat together at the community center, watching a group of kids laugh and play, Richard turned to Jason and said, "You know, I thought losing everything was the worst thing that could happen to me. But meeting you, seeing the world through your eyes, has been the greatest gift of my life." Jason smiled, brushing a strand of Lily's hair from her face. "Sometimes, life gives you what you need, not what you want," he said softly. "You just have to be willing to see it." And in that moment, Richard realized it was true. Kindness had saved him, not just from his financial ruin, but from the emptiness he had carried for so long. And he vowed to carry that lesson forward, to be a force of good in a world that often forgets the power of a simple, human touch. Of this story isn't just about a billionaire who lost his fortune. It's about all of us. It's about how the smallest gestures, helping a stranger, offering a smile, listening when someone needs it, can ripple through lives in ways we may never see. Kindness doesn't cost a thing, yet it can be more valuable than anything money can buy. Richard's life changed because someone showed him compassion without judgment. And Jason's life was touched because someone believed in giving and sharing. Imagine what could happen if each of us chose to be just a little kinder, every day. The world would be brighter, more connected, and infinitely more human. So, the next time you see someone struggling, remember, a simple act of kindness could change their life forever, and maybe even yours.